and they're highly curated groups from a business networking perspective. So if you could show that value of the other members in your group.
No, and look, 200, 250 is a lot, because I think Chris Doe's community is like 250 a month. And it's like, yo, if I'm going to pay that much, I'm going to go to someone who's, who has that following, who has that content quality and credibility.
Yep.
Chris Doe is great, by the way. He's coming back on the podcast in 2025.
Nice.
I really enjoy my conversations with that dude. I'm a student of his game, man, and he's just sharp, and he thinks outside the box, but also very strategically and analytically driven as well. Joel, you're a different breed than the three of us here. We're just peons in your royalty of content creation here from your perch, right?
Yeah.
From your throne, looking down on us over here. What is your biggest gripe with the platform these days?
I mean, it's the same thing it's always been. It's just people doing the growth hacking. Look, I put out basic content as well, so like I'm not like that annoyed with that because I'm not that annoyed by that, because I'm just like, that's in general, most big creators are going to put out more generalized content to keep the engagement big. But to me, it's a joke if you're claiming to be like some kind of expert and you don't have another platform or like two. And honestly, if you don't have a video platform that's legitimate, I don't even count you as a content creator anymore.
I don't even count you.
It's just like Justin Welsh. He is the perfect example of that. The guy is never going to be able to grow on YouTube or Instagram like Reels or Shorts. He doesn't do any video, but he's the guy that's
$9
exactly. So
$9 million.
But the problem is then people go, well, that's the way to do it. And so to me, like a lot of the people who are like teaching the content creation, they're not real content creators. They might have had one or two big viral posts that went off, like, don't call me a female CEO, just call me a CEO.
Didn't have to hack the algo, right?
That's some basic content. The other thing is when you actually go and meet people and you go to meet, people in your industry, that's what I care way more about. So it's like, to me, the online thing, it's helpful. I appreciate that, but the content as a whole on LinkedIn, I think is pretty gimmicky. And, it's like 4 years ago, we would have been talking about JP and Shay and those people.
Yeah.
None of them even create content anymore. Like let's legitimate on a platform. So
let's wrap it up here. We got Danielle waiting over here. I want to thank all you gentlemen for your continued friendship and support out here. I wish everyone a very, very, very happy New Year.
Joel, I love how that shadow is just falling on Junaid right now.
We shine a light on him. Joel, hang with me for 1 second here. Liam, Junaid, I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful
peace, guys.
Later, boys.
We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Happy New Year.
All right, we're gonna do this. I don't think White Evan's gonna appreciate this HR morning show repurposed takeover here, but we have the HR morning show squad. Where's White Evan? Is White Evan in the house? Where's Evan? Where is he?
White Evan. There'll be a delay.
Is this a rogue? Is this a rogue morning show we have going on here?
Yeah, I'm like in a weird spot. I'm on the couch.
Yeah, where is Danielle? That's always the question.
Well, first of all, we're all a little bit off today. Joel is completely off the grid. He is literally clickbait iPhone off the grid. My whole system is down. I'm on this is the second mic I had, my USB mic when I was podcasting. Thank God I have it. My whole system is down right now. My camera's over there. Everything is whacked. Danielle, I don't know what's happening. There's a giraffe and some weird purple plant going on.
There's a plant that's like dying behind me, and then there's a giraffe on that side. Yeah.
Well, listen,
I don't know, man.
Well, first of all, Danielle, how you feeling? How's the ankle healing?
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm walking again.
She's gone from crawling to walking.
I know it's a Christmas miracle. So I came from PT today. It was nice. Great. I'm walking without crutches, and it's just freeing.
White Evan didn't think we were going to have an HR morning show this week, but we are having an HR morning show for everyone out there. Tell what is that, a microphone or like a pill that you're talking into? What is that?
It's a Rode mic.
It is a Rode mic. Very nice.
It's not an ad, but I wish. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Danielle Farage. I talk a lot about Gen Z in the workplace, and I advocate for intergenerational communication for us to talk to each other so that we can work better together. And I've been on a lot of stages this year, been doing a lot more content, and obviously, yeah, doing stuff with both of you. So it's been really fun.
It's been swell. So Joel, we appreciate you, but your time is over. Enjoy
later.
Great North.
Get out of here.
Now we'll catch up with you soon. There we go. All right. See, it's a beauty when I get to control it.
We have people in the comments are liking the giraffe. So
yeah, where's my dude Bennett right there? Bennett is I used to do, wait, I don't know if you know this fun fact. So during the pandemic, Danielle, I was doing like 4 or 5 live shows a week from my den. I set it up on like coffee tables, and I was doing like a late night version, and we had game shows. We did like the dating game. I'd stand up comedy. I had music. It was like a real variety show from my den. And I enjoyed it. So I think maybe one day I'll bring that back.
A dating show. I'm down. You know, there's this show called Updating that is like super viral now. It's basically these guys put on a show, and instead of a comedian on the stage, it's 2 people blindfolded dating each other.
Huh. So
little known fact. Yeah, they don't know what they look like. And then there's like a, you know, do you thumbs up or down? Do you want to go on a date with this person? And then they take the blindfolds off, and then they have to ask them again. And sometimes their answers switch. So it's really funny, like based on how they look. And I went on the show.
Is it online or you have to go in person?
21, you have to go in person, but they put every episode online on YouTube. And I became friends with the guys who run the show.
And the guys on the show?
I was like on the show on the stage, dating someone on the stage for the first time, but he wasn't Jewish, so it didn't work out.
Yeah, well, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. So let's talk about the last year of Danielle's life. It's been quite interesting, and I was lucky enough. Actually, the first time we met at Transform last year. I was introduced to you and through our dude Evan, and it kind of all came together this year. We joined forces on the HR Morning Show. We traveled a couple of times, and there's going to be a lot more of that on the horizon. I'm a good road buddy, right? Am I fun on the road?
You're Funkle. You're like your Bunkle, and he's Funkle, and we had a really fun time. My favorite night was when we were at the old strip.
Old Fairmont Street, old Las Vegas night.
Yeah, that was so fun, honestly. And it's interesting. It's like I've only really worked remotely for like different businesses. And of course there was travel involved, but I never really had like a big conference experience with people who felt like my coworkers. Right. Like it was a different experience, and I'm glad I got to have it. So thanks for making it what it was.
And then I think we're gonna be doing a lot more of these coming up this year. For anyone out there, Paz is hitting the road, and I think my friends Joel and Danielle are gonna be with me in some kind of variation combination, or one of us, or the 3 of us, or 2 of us together. You coming to San Diego? We doing TA week together? We doing that?
I'm unsure at the moment. We'll see.
Well, we have TA week, and then we have the big boys coming up. We have Transform. I think the whole crew is going to be out there.
Oh yeah. And then I'm doing the SourceCon ERE conference.
You're going to do that one. I'm skipping that one, but I'm going right from Vegas to Nashville for SHRM Talent. So I'm doing a full Nash Vegas 10 days. I'm coming home for the weekend. Don't worry, wifey. I'll be home for the weekend before I go back out to Nashville. And then we're going to try to get the band together maybe for Unleash in May.
That'll be fun.
So it's why is everything in Vegas?
I don't know. And
I don't love Vegas.
It's just it's too much time in Vegas. Like, can we do it? I don't know, other places, like maybe Canada
in the summer.
Yeah, in the summer, because also Vegas is like so hot in June and May. Okay, I'd rather not.
Here's the deal, and people, my friends are always like, oh, you complain you're going to Vegas a couple of times a year, and I'm like, first of all, Vegas during the week is kind of quiet. Like there's things to do, but it doesn't have the same energy as weekend Vegas. Weekend Vegas is completely different. And here's another thing, guys, when we go out there, and I tell my wife this, and you could attest to it, Danielle, we're not like partying our faces off, right? We're we're hanging out, maybe a few drinks at the bar, but like it's not like you're going with your buddies, right? It's also HR and TA conference, so like people are kind of mindful.
This year at Transform, something I will never forget is seeing CHROs on stage with Flo Rida and Flava Flav, like basically taking their shirts off. That was happening. Insane. I was there
too. That was Transform. Our dude Brian Fink is down there in the green room, in the podcast green room, sponsored by Celsius Energy Drink. We'll get him up here in a moment, but we've had a fun year, and I've told you this in person, I've told you this in writing too. It's just been a pleasure to watch you grow into your own. As a host, as finding that confidence in yourself. And I think, the three of us or two of us, we make a pretty good team. We feed off each other's energy. And for me, I never think I'm old. I really don't. I really truly think I'm young at heart. I act young. I feel young. I don't feel like I'm turning 46 years old. But then I get to spend time with you, and you're X years younger than me. But it makes me feel young and energized, and that I could still hang and not be a complete dad dork. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I honestly have always been friends with people of different ages and stages of life. I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who like you can learn from. Like the best, the best learning experiences come from life. And if you can surround yourself with people who are at different points in their lives, I feel like you have so much more to gain, and you can live your life so much more intentionally and fully because your decisions are being validated by, other people who are looking back and saying, I wish I just lived more. I wish I didn't stress as much. I wish I did this and that. And like, you can literally do that and like take their advice. So why the heck not?
Yeah. Why the heck not? And I think, and I think you said something else that was really important too. Like we get to hang at these events, and there's really a community, and I'm starting to see this by going to multiple events. There really is a true community in this HRTA world. A lot of the same faces, building community, building relationships. One of those guys is Brian Fink down there, and it's just been exciting. So Danielle, I want you to give us some intentions, but let me take a step back. Aside from your injury that you're rehabbing right now, what was that biggest challenge for you in 2024?
I think the biggest challenge was like learning how to ask for what I want. Yeah, I think like I've always struggled to like voice my opinion or like ask for things that I want and ask things of people, right? Like whether it be a higher speaking rate or, collaborating on a partnership or like whatever it might be, just like putting myself out there and asking for what I want, because closed mouths don't get fed. And the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So I've really been super intentional this year about pushing myself to do the uncomfortable thing. And it's led to some really incredible partnerships and just like things that I just never would have thought would happen. I partnered with the Muse on videos. Like I've been looking into, I've been following the Muse for so many years, and to think that I could like actually partner with them as a creator and see huge success in our content, like incredible. I would have never thought. No, I'm just really proud. So more of that.
And you're learning this lesson early on right now. And you said it, like closed mouths don't get fed. If you want something in life, you have to go and ask for it. No one's just going to hand you anything. No one's going to give you anything. And I think also you're also doing a great job at setting an example and breaking down stigmas and preconceived misconceptions about, Gen Zers, that they're lazy and entitled and all that. I hear people say that. I'm like, you're not surrounding yourself with the right Gen Zers, right? Like you're not seeing the ones out there that are busting their asses and making shit happen and learning from them. And I think one of the things that you do really well, and we talk about this when you talk about how to work with and manage Gen Zs out there, is coming down to their level, and not in a negative way, but just really listening to what they're saying and not blocking it with your thoughts here. For everyone out there who doesn't follow your content, let's just dig into that for a moment here. What are some of those kind of cliche things that people say about Gen Zers, and what's the truth?
I mean, the biggest one is, well, they come up with like excuses like to not work and stuff like that. And it's interesting. I was just editing videos from my Tulsa keynote, and I'll post those in the new year because there's some really great content there. But essentially, one of the audience members asked me, she was like, "Oh, was this person I was working with, and I see all these videos online about the different generations and the cliches. And one of the problems I've had is like, if someone says, a Gen Zer says like, "Oh, my cat is sick, I need to take the day off." She was like, "What? Like, am I being taken advantage of if I say, you could take the day off, or should I be like putting my foot down more? Like what? Like, how do I handle that?" And I said, "What's the real issue? Like, what's the impact of that action?" And she said, "Well, if they don't do it, then I have to do the work or it falls on someone else." So I said, "You just have to explain what the impact of their action is and leave it up to them to decide if they really want to continue that path forward, right? Even if it's something that you wouldn't necessarily do if you were in their position, or something you would have done when you were their age. It's important to just explain to them like what is the impact of their action and let them decide given all the information." So that's kind of one of the things that I see a lot is like kind of just like this
or the other one too, where it's like, oh, all they want to do is trying to find a shortcut and a hack to it. I'm like, maybe you have to reframe your way of thinking and say maybe they're trying to find a more efficient way to do this.
100%.
Yes, there are certain steps that are essential in many processes, right? There are certain steps that you need for compliance, regulatory, or if it's like mechanical, technical, right? There's certain things. But then I really truly believe in work smarter, not harder, right? And I've done it myself with how do I scale myself as a solopreneur? How do I scale my content? How do I scale my business? And there's real growth hacks, and then there's hacking for cheating, right? If you're doing growth hacking in a way that's going to help you accelerate, where you're not missing the steps, but you're getting it done faster and quicker, maybe there's something you can learn from these younger folks.
It's interesting that our natural inclination when someone asks us like, "Oh, why do we do it this way?" is to kind of like shut down in a lot of cases, right? It's to say, "Well, we've always done it that way. Like, why are you trying to come in and challenge this?" Rather, we might want to step back and ask ourselves, "Well, hold on. Why do we do this way?" Like, that's a valid question, right? And it's valid for two reasons. It's valid because, well, there might actually be a better way to do it. But secondly, it's like if you came into a situation like, cooking in a restaurant, let's say, and you saw the line chef doing something a certain way, wouldn't you want to know like why they're doing it that way so that you could learn better and you could potentially improve the system? Like, I just think that it's a show of like good faith. It's a show of like, I want to work hard. I want to, do things better and make things better for everyone. So I think it comes from a good place.
I think it does come from a good place. And I think it's really exciting of what you're doing, because you're going to have a lot of headwind going into a lot of these conferences that are the old guard. And our dude Brian Fink could probably attest to this too, that we need to start embracing, and I'm talking about my generation who are the decision makers, need to really embrace and welcome in the younger generations who are going to be the leaders, or are the leaders of the future, and stop resisting and put Gen Zers on stage, give them a chance to share their voice, because that's what a lot of these conferences are not doing. It's the same old voices, and they need to switch it up, and you're not attracting new audiences. And like, who do you think are the mid-level managers and directors in HR and TA and corporations out there? Like, it's not 55-year-olds. No, it's 27.
There's so many, and I met a lot of them at Transform. Like at Transform, like at HR Tech, like they're here and they have arrived. And in my opinion, like what I believe I could bring to the HR community, and the reason I go to these conferences, even if they're not paying me to go, is because I believe that the younger voices need to be in the room, and we need to show up. We need to band together. We need to come to the table with new ideas, because it's not that yes, of course. There's a lot of conferences that are doing it the old way, but take
Mhm.
Transform as as an example of someone who's doing it differently. Like Transform is open to
Yeah.
ideas, and we just have to pitch them. We just have to, bring them to the table and not be afraid to use our voices. So hopefully that's something that I can bring to the HR community, is just this fresh and new wave of people and young professionals who want to change the game and want to be on the stages and want to share what they're learning, and hopefully we get the platform to do it.
Yeah, look, I found my logo for my late night show. You see it up there?
So cute. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
reminds me of like Seth Meyers or like Jimmy Fallon.
I think that was I'm more of a Jimmy Kimmel. Like, I can't be Jimmy Fallon. There's only one Jimmy Fallon. Like, Jimmy Fallon's a triple threat, right? Like, he sings, and he's very entertaining, and he's unique. So
he's very likable.
Seth Meyers is too a little too political for me at times, but Jimmy Kimmel is kind of where I feel my wheelhouse would be. I
like Bill Maher.
Bill Maher is great too. So let's bring in Fink here while we wrap it up with you here. We're gonna bring in Brian. You know Brian, right?
Hey.
So real quick, party people. I am so excited that I get to have a conversation with Adam, and more importantly with Danielle. Yes. Danielle and I discovered that we have a mutual admiration, and maybe it's even love. Maybe it's a man crush for Scott Galloway. Maybe that's what I've got, right?
Professor G. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Prof G, as we were talking about that in the comments the other day. So, and kudos to y'all. Y'all put on a great prediction show the other afternoon, or the other morning, I should say.
I sat that one out.
Well, sometimes you have to sit things out, Adam. And I think it goes back to what you and Danielle were talking about. And it's one of the reasons why I'm kind of scaling back my in-person appearances this year, is that I want to make sure that I give the stage to other people so that we hear other voices. Is that by sharing the light, that's the only way we can create more light. That's the only way we can create more room in the room.
Could some of these people take a step back, but pause on that thought for one moment, Brian, because I want to wrap it up with Danielle here. And yes, we're not dimming a light by turning off our own light. We're not trying to dim a light on others, but we're trying to give more light to other people who have not received or been given, enough light. And I think that's what we really need to do in this space. So Danielle, leave us with one word of power, one word of intention for 2025.
Ooh.
For yourself.
I think I gave one the other day. I honestly don't remember what I said the other day. But I would say like staying strong, like keeping on going amidst the headwinds that I might face.
Yes. Profound. Yeah. Well, thank Danielle, you know how much I appreciate you. You know what you mean to me. For everyone out there, my nickname for her is Kid Sis. And, really that's kind of, I look out for her. I look up to her certain times. And she's just a ton of fun to be with and create content, and looking forward to hitting the road with you again in 2025.
Yeehaw. Let's do it.
Yeah. Giddy up. See you out there. Oh, well, what are you doing? Right. Oh, make Brian and I feel old right now. What are you doing for New Year's? What, like, do Gen Z still go out like big time New York City, bottles and models and big dinners and expensive, or do you house parties, like small groups? What are you doing for New Year's?
We dislike New Year's. We dislike times where there's pressure to go out and to like buy tickets to things. Like I think it's so stupid. I prefer a small like gathering at one's apartment, watching the ball drop. Anywhere. I personally will be in Aruba because my family's going. And with a family friend, like it's gonna be amazing. Especially after a month of being inside with my ankle.
Yeah, you need some air. You need to be aired out.
I do. I need sun, obviously.
All right. Be good
to see you.
Happy
New Year, guys.
Bye-bye. The Finkster, Mr. Brian.
Mr. Posner.
I am
What's
here,
going
man.
on?
I am here, man. I'm excited. It's interesting that you said that you're kind of scaling back. But will I see you in San Diego? Are we going to see each other at TA Week? What are we doing?
So no, we will not see each other in San Diego. So there are a few reasons why I'm scaling back, and I'm happy to go into them because it's the kind of intimate conversation that you and I would have normally. Is that there are a few things going on. One, I think that I need to that seeing me on every stage at every event is a disservice to the event and to the community. Okay, like, look, I like getting up there and I like having conversations. I like moving the needle on diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. I like moving the needle on sourcing and sourcing strategy. I like all these things, right? Like, and I like to party with you afterwards and put on, and I'm wearing red shoes today, but nobody can see my feet. That would be weird. Whatever. We'll start an OnlyFans. Who knows where that'll go? Okay. All right. So are we calling Mr. White? So that's part one. Part two, and Adam, I know this is gonna go to you right where you're at because of today and because you had your two children involved in the conversation. Is that I want to be here for Maddie. Yeah. She's growing up, being gone a week, a month, every month for the past 12 months. She didn't say anything to me, and Allie didn't say anything to me. Shout out to Allie. Shout out to Maddie. Maddie was kind of surprised when she was like, "Wait a minute, you're not going anywhere this month." And I was like, "Nope, Dad's home." She's like, "Middle of the month, you're usually gone." I'm like, "No, that's the jam." Yeah. So there are two thoughts. Is that one, we need to give new voices, new outlets, and we need to give them the same stages that old voices have been on.
It's time to switch it up.
No disrespect to anybody out there, but like, what's the point of having me at one SourceCon and then having me immediately at the next SourceCon and then having me at RecFest and then having me at ER? Like, I don't get it. Like, I like me. I'm a big fan of Think, right? Like, yeah. I got my ego, but the reality of it is, yeah.
You got, and I want more of the conference organizer. Listen, do the people buying the tickets really want to see the same names every time at every different event, right? How are they being persuaded? But that's a whole other topic. But he says something interesting to me. Like, I'm kind of on the flip side of it heading into 2025. I already have 5 or 6 events on the calendar for the year. And, sure. The difference for me in a minute, like that's a pure revenue stream for me. Those are partnered sponsors events. And that's how it's like a musician, like a, rock star or DJ. I'm going out there and I'm doing the show on the road and it's a revenue generator. And my wife's kind of rule is just be home by the weekends, right? Like you got to work during the week, do what you got to do. But the part that's kind of getting to me a little bit, my little dude is starting Little League this year. And I was like, shit, I might miss a couple of practices and games here and there. And that's kind of weighing on me a bit. So, I'm going to do my best with my schedule as best as possible to try to truncate, right? Like maybe I don't stay that extra night. Maybe I head out, as soon as things are over on that last night and get that late flight home. So I'm home the next day, right? Like those type of things, like just trying to be a little bit more mindful within that travel schedule, as best as possible based on commitments, right? Like how do I still do what I need to do? Cause I'm out there establishing my brand and, growing the show and, sponsors want me out there to do my thing. So it's a balancing act.
I totally get that. However, it's a balancing act. It's new and it's different. It's encouraging. It's something for your children to look up to. I just wonder how many times do I have to give the same talk at different venues, right? So like, if you think about it, I'm working on all new material this year.
You're like a stand-up.
I am. Like, well, I often articulate that the great stand-up comics of our generation, maybe not of Danielle's generation, but they all did the big movie. They all started stand-up. They got the TV show. They did the big movie. And where are they today? Adam Sandler's touring around doing tour. Jerry Seinfeld's on tour. Yeah, they're all on tour, right? So I'm working on some new content. I'm partnering with Michael Goldberg. We've got to talk about the Power of No that's coming up at Anna Morgan's Evolve conference that we're going to be doing here in Atlanta on the 30th. I'm really excited about that.
It's a local one. You don't have to go too far, and you're supporting a friend, so that's an easy one to do.
Well, it's more than supporting a friend. It's really trying to bring that magic, that impetus that you and I have experienced at a RecFest or at or at an ERE or at Transform, where Adam, I sit there and I think about our Transform experience, not just Flo Rida and that madness, but like
that was crazy.
But it was crazy. But like whether we were at the roulette table. Whether we were just having conversations at that Chinese restaurant that we went to that was inside the wind.
That was really good. That was a great dumpling house, by the way. Great steam buns.
Yeah. So, but like, and the thing is that I'm trying to be more intentional with my time as well. Like, sending the text message in the morning, asking how Nina's doing, how you and your crew are growing, things of that nature, right? And just like my big thing this year, I've got it sitting here on the desk. It came in while I was on vacation, but I've got my Jesse Itzler.
Oh, you got the big ass calendar.
No. I got the big ass planner.
Oh, you got the planner, not the calendar.
I got the planner this year because what I did is the year that I wrote the book, I sat down in a moleskin and I wrote out every single day what I was going to do in the book before I wrote either of the books. And I'm getting ready for a 29029. You know, shout out to Joel. Joel and I hung out and had some meaningful conversations at Transform and along the year. And we talked about getting into the best physical shape that you can be in, right? You know, since Transform, I've lost 30 pounds this year, right? And man. This is, you know, but this goes back to the spirit of the community, is if we're not welcoming people into the community in a genuine and authentic manner, they're not going to stick, and they're not going to stay, and they're not going to stick with it. They're not going to have that wherewithal. And I think that's one of the things that we've really got to work on is, you know, I'm going to be at conferences, but I'm not going to be on the stage, right? Like,
power. You don't always have to be on stage. It's about creating the community, and also being one thing I love about you're a champion conduit, right? There's folks in this community who are connection conduits. When you see two folks, like, how do you, like, I did that to you and me to Malik. I'm like, how do you not?
Oh, dude, that was
right. But and what I'm saying about that one is, how do we, who are natural connectors, use these opportunities at conferences to really be that pipeline? And like, let's just break out. We always tend to kind of, we're the same 10 people in the circle bar at the, you know, at the win at the end of the night. But like, how do we bring in other people? How do we bring in other voices and introduce to the community and keep the IRL conversations going? You know, that's where I think there's a lot of value in these conferences.
No, I don't disagree. And I think there was a conversation going back to the gentleman who is the younger co-host. He is the Danielle to the Adam on Prof G Markets, and he did the letter last week about how we react to people and when we see their faces, and why Twitch is taking off, and why different social media networks, and why we kind of feel this way. I think he called it I'm going to mess it up. I'm not going to try to put the term in there.
But what is it?
The reality of it is that we are drawn to one another. And so I think even at some subpar events that we are so hungry for actual personal attention that we're kind of willing to almost do anything to get it, right? And we've got to create these safe spaces which create the environment for people to do this in a fashion so that they can get the external mobility that they need and harness what's going on with their authentic self.
Well said. And I think the other part too is a lot of us are still working remote, and we yearn for that human connection. And there's a lot of people where maybe it's their first conference or their first event, and they're stepping into a place of unfamiliarity, and it is daunting. I mean, think about stepping onto that RecFest pitch the first time and, you know, seeing, you know, hundreds of people and like, where do I go? Where do I start? Or even maybe if it's your first event and, you know, there's 4 different speaker lineups happening at the same time, someone you can say, hey, Brian's someone I know and trust. How should I go about my day today? Where would you suggest that I start? Like being there as a trusted advisor and kind of a Sherpa, right? An HR event Sherpa.
It's so funny that you bring that up, is that I had people who were like reaching out to me over DM on LinkedIn saying, "Hey B, I saw you at RecFest. I didn't get a chance to talk to you. What talks do I need to go to tomorrow?" And I was like, "Go to this one. Go to this one. This one's going to be a powerhouse, and it's going to coincide against this one. Get a friend to go do that." It's a variety of different avenues.
And I think too, I mean, we talk about these events too, and this is what I've been hammering home. They need to start diversifying the speaker lineups, and I'm talking about.
That's why I'm sitting out, right? Like, man. That's half of it.
But as long as you're sitting out for them to get, like, hey, I'm going to sit this one out, but I want you to give this to a Gen Z or somebody who has not had their voices heard here, underrepresented communities, you know, in our space there. Like, don't just fill it. I hate to say this, with the same old white dudes, including myself, at all these, you know. And I'm not always keynoting. I keynoted at ERE, but like, you know, stop filling it with the same keynote speaker. They're doing the same thing every time.
Yeah. So I'm not here to cast aspersions, but there is a paid speaker who is on all these stages all the time, and their name may rhyme with Bosch Jerson. and I don't know what they say that's different. And I don't want to be that guy at the end of the day. I don't want to be Bosch Jerson.
You're not. There's only one Bosch Jerson, and great content from him, but it's the same content every time. It's time to hear something different. Now, is that a big draw for these? Like, if I'm looking to buy a ticket for a conference, when I want to be drawn to maybe, oh, these are some topics and speakers that I've never heard about. We're going to take a stab at DEI&B from a different angle. We're going to hear it from a different voice. We're going to see a different format than the same, looks like a PowerPoint presentation keynote up there lecturing to me. People don't want to see that. They want to be engaged. I have to go to Vegas to sit in a ballroom for 3 days. I need to get value.
One of the most engaging individuals that I met with, or that I had the opportunity to meet with one-on-one. Like, we were just talking, and then I didn't realize that they were going to be a speaker. Mills, who I met down in South America at the Human Resources Americas event, right? And Mills got up there, and he was super interactive. He was super engaging. He was all about influencer and the influencer community and how that can play reciprocal value into creating a storied brand for an organization, right? And talked about the campaign that they put together for American Airlines. And then I told, oh, dude, why can't I think of my man, my myth, my legend, Mr. Jim Stroud. I was like, Jim, you've got to get him to SourceCon, right? And he was super powerful at SourceCon. Like, this guy operates at the level of a Carlos Gill. Like, it's remarkable.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I attended a couple of conferences this year that were outside of HR and TA, and one of them was the Will Guidara's Welcome Conference, which was at Lincoln Center this year, and I was blown away. We looked at the lineup, but the whole experience was incredible. And there was a speaker on the lineup. Her name is Jade Simmons. She's a classically trained musician.
That was an awesome podcast, bro. Thank you. Awesome podcast.
And I watched. My wife saw her at a real estate event earlier that year, and she saw her on the lineup. She's like, she's going to blow your mind. And we were blown away. And I'll leave it at that. Everyone can go YouTube Jade Simmons and see what she's all about. And I was like, I need to have her on the podcast. And because I had Will on the show, fostered the introduction, and I was able to book one of my favorite episode of 2024 on the podcast, Jade Simmons. And the reason she was my favorite episode, not so much what she said, which was incredible, and I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but she brought out the best of me as a host. Like, she made me, I was in my element, right? I had to step up my game with that conversation, right? It's like professional athletes, right? I'm going against the best pitcher in the world. I'm going to go up there with my A game. And it's always about elevating your game. And I think it's the same thing with these kind of conferences, events too. Step out of your shell, try to meet people. I mean, Danielle had a great comment out there. This LinkedIn user is actually Danielle Farage. She said, my favorite question to ask at a conference regular is, who in this room should I meet? Now, us, Brian and I, as the receivers and enablers of this, it's our responsibility to think about that person and who we think, not just from like a business perspective, could add value, but maybe like that person has a completely different perspective than you. Let's get them together and talk shop, right? And kind of watch the magic happen, right? Like in a kind of mildly entertaining fishbowl kind of way. But being that context. So what? 2 minutes before Stephanie Lowenstern comes on here, what has been your biggest professional challenge in 2024?
2024, I think it was, we keep going full tilt. Okay. And what I mean by that is that at McAfee, shout out to McAfee, you guys empower me to do great things. I love working with the team there. I love working with Rodney and Barbara and Jason and Julian. So I'm name dropper. That's what I do. Right. So, and Jessica and Smita. So anyhow, the reality of it is that we started the year off and we were hiring a lot of people, and then we hockey sticked, and then we hockey sticked again. And like, you know, Joel and I were talking about the September surge, and I was like, I don't know about the September surge, but I know about the October onslaught, and that is real, right?
It happened.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that my big takeaway from 2024 is that I thought I was prepared, but I was never as prepared as I should have been. And that's one of the reasons why I got the journal. I mean, I got the big ass planner, so I could sit down and plan those things strategically like I had done in 2023 or 2022 for 2023 to make that impactful. So I would say I did not come to the table as prepared as I should have been.
Preparation's half the battle, man.
Oh yeah. Sharpen that axe, right? You want to spend hours sharpening that axe or cutting down the tree, right?
Got it.
So that's the piece there. Number two, I think that this year I wrote a lot more from the heart about who I am and what I do, and trying to give that advice. And I'm trying to shift a little bit of the blend to focus on how I can help more recruiters go next level, not by PowerPointing them to death, but by asking deep questions like, what is the problem that you're having? And have you thought about solving it this way? Those are the distinctions I'm trying to make.
Do you think AI is going to take over our job as recruiters?
No, actually, I think a little bit differently. Serge and I had a conversation about this. Shout out Serge. We had a different conversation about this. Yeah, and I've also had this conversation with Stan over at Scotty AI. I think that it's going to take the parts away from our job that are kind of rudimentary, that we just do like in a route capacity. But I think it's going to allow us to ask deeper, more enabling questions. And when I say enabling, I mean questions that enable the candidate to go further. However, we've got to get in the practice of saying no. That is why ghosting is the epidemic that it is that recruiters think they're in the yes business. You know, I'm stealing the thunder from Mr. Goldberg. Is we're going to talk about this in Atlanta, but recruiters want to be in the yes business. We want to hand out yeses.
We want to give jobs.
Hand out offers. Yeah, we want to be the job. We want to be the job Marciano, right? So we can do that, or you can realize that for every 100 apps that you get, 99 people are not
going to get a no. I explain that all the time. We're in the no business.
You've got to realize that you're in the no business, right? And also but to your question about AI, is that there are parts of the business that we will let it seep into. There will parts we will say, no, it cannot be a part of. But if we say yes to everything, we are going to be in one cluster of a predicament.
One cluster of a predicament. We got a whole separate.
I saved myself. I wasn't sure if my mother's watching. She just got a LinkedIn account, and I was like, she doesn't like it when I say the F word. Not fake or free, but the other one.
We're gonna get Steph on here in a moment. So Brian, leave us with a word of power, a word of intention for yourself for 2025.
Mind shift. Mind shift.
Mind shift. You're like you can be like a Vegas stage act right there. You and Michael Goldberg, he'll be your assistant, scantily clad.
No, I was thinking about Brian Salas, right? Like, he's a band speaker.
Steph, I'm going to bring you on stage for this right now to transition you in over here for a moment here. Do you guys know each other?
Yeah. So we talk, we text, we do the things.
We talk all the time. Shabbat shalom.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good. Yes. And it's Hanukkah, so you get to light multiple candles.
Let's go.
On the third night of Hanukkah, my kids got more gifts. Fourth night of Hanukkah, right? No,
No, we're on the third night.
Third night.
You're correct.
Third night. I like it that it coincides with Christmas. That way, everyone feels they're getting something. And people don't really like Hanukkah is a very minor holiday. It's like the least important holiday on the Jewish calendar. I mean, it's literally like a throwaway holiday compared to, the big boys out there, the Yoms and the Passovers and all that too.
And Tu B'Shvat, baby, you got to have some of that Tu B'Shvat up in here. Planting a tree. Let's go.
Well, I look forward to my Shabbat Shalom text from Brian on Fridays.
So Brian Fink, I appreciate you. Everyone, please follow Brian. Get your ass out to Transform. We got to have at least one conference this year to hang out at, man.
All right. So let me talk to Allie. We're trying to put some things together today.
Make it a family. Make it a family trip.
Well, so Allie, if you're listening, everybody on this podcast knows that you are in HR, and that there's no reason why you can't go to Transform, because I catch them and she keeps them. That's the way this relationship works.
Catch them, release on irons. Brian Fink, I appreciate you. Happy and a healthy new year as always. Thank you, my man.
All right. Y'all be well.
All right. Brian Fink in the house, everybody. There he goes. And batting cleanup. Steph, what's happening?
Hi, how are you?
Is everyone in South Florida now? Is that like everyone's there for the holidays? Everyone's
South Florida. I don't know who's down here. Are you here?
I'm not. We decided we did the December thing for a long time, and the weather was only good like 1 out of every 5 times. So we shifted to April. So April's our big family trip down to Florida. We do the April break.
You're not missing anything.
Now that's what I'm saying. The weather's it's not always amazing this time of year.
No, it's gross. Like it's gross, and I have a cold, so it's adding on to that, you know.
So it's nothing special. So we're not missing. What's happening? How's your year been?
It's been interesting. I don't know, like
Fill us in. However much you want to share professionally.
No, I feel like I'm just a different person than like even when I saw you. It's just been in a way I can say it's just been a year of healing, you know. And I think when we saw each other in
April.
Transform in March.
Let's say you in March and that's April.
Yeah, I honestly don't feel like I was my true self until I would say May, June, July. I think it reintegrating into work after dealing with some stuff took some time. And so I feel like more like my true self and like even a bigger and better version started to shape towards the summer. Yeah.
But is it, I mean, listen, it's you're gone through a lot, and, you know, we're not going to get into everyone's personal stuff here, but like it's weighed heavily and it's affected work, and you've had to transform professionally and figure out your business. And, you know, it's hard to compartmentalize. I mean, we all deal with our shit. We're all going through stuff. People don't know the battles that we're fighting, right? They don't know what we're going through. And it's really hard to compartmentalize work and personal. For me, work is personal and personal is work for what we do here. But I found for myself, and as much as you feel like sharing, like when I know I'm going through some personal stuff, I try to channel that hardship or negative energy into being more productive at work. Like, it's a weird thing. I try not to let it affect my work. I try to like reverse it. How have you found that working for you?
It's good that you ask, because I've done a lot of reflecting on this. Because if you know me intimately, like I had a tendency to overshare. And I think moving into 2025, I'm going to cut that back, where I'm going to share like my story and my experience from a place of hope. What I will say is that there was a point where when people go through certain traumas in their life, they deal with it a certain way. They sometimes hold it back and they throw themselves into work. For me, it was the opposite. It was like word vomit and just like open and sharing. And it was different. And in a way, it affected my work, right? Because it's like the energy we bring is going to attract us to like those more clients, those candidates, whatever. In a weird way, though, it allowed me to connect with people in an authentic way, where this year I've made so many great friends through work because they felt more connected to me because I was oversharing.
It's a positive side effect, right? But you're right, though, there is a balance of, in a lot of ways, it's cathartic to share our personal lives, and to an extent, you know, on social media, but you're also opening yourself up to, you know, the haters and the trolls and the naysayers, and, you know, that kind of self-doubt of like, oh my God, are people going to think I'm weak? Or are they going to be judging me because I said something or took a, you know, position in a way? But those aren't the people you want anyway. Those aren't the people that you want to attract. And I think, and I truly believe that people work with people that they like. You're showing that human side of you, especially us as, you know, solopreneur, recruiter, business owners, you know, because what separates you or I from other recruiters out there, right? Like when you're pitching it, we work harder, we have deeper networks, we all have that's what everyone claims to be. At the end of the day, who's better and who's a deeper network, and who do you want to work with?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's made my business successful. I'll be honest. Like when I look back, I'm going into I'll be 6 years in business in January. And clearly, you know, and you and I've been in it together. I've known you for a few years now. We've done through the pandemic, and I did it like through divorce and through having a baby at the same time. Like, you know, it's like we kind of just like deal with it. And I think at the bottom line is like the relationships that I've cultivated and the successful placements that I have is because we just enjoy working together on both ends, candidate, client, and Stephanie as recruiter.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about there. So let's actually talk shop a little bit in the recruiting world out there. It's been brutal, and we take the brunt of it. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I would say on average, probably 7 to 10 DMs a day from people in and out of my network, just desperate help, jobs, help. And I don't have jobs for them. I try to find ways to point them in the right direction. And it's painful to see people get let go. I mean, I've been let go plenty of times. Everyone knows my journey, and it's tough, and it's kind of helpless, right? So we got to find ways to add value. But like, what are you feeling? What are you seeing from your side? I mean, how do you deal with that pressure when people are just pouring it on you, job seekers?
No, it's a good question. I mean, especially as a recruiter, when I see a candidate go through like the final round and they're rejected for whatever reason after 10 rounds or whatever. it's really, really, it's frustrating. And I've been doing that a lot. And Adam, the light's coming in.
Yeah.
I know this distracting you. But I would say
you gotta get blackout shades like I have right there. Clear. I know, I'm kidding.
I know, I know. I listened to your talk earlier about video. I have to get a better setup, so I will. So that's 220.
This is my ratchet ass setup right here. This is not the normal angles. I mean, I'm normally head on. My camera's over here today. My microphone's not working. The kids are gonna be back here in a minute. So just go with the flow. It's all good.
So what I wanted to say is that, like, for me, I think it's kind of something where, like, I hate to say it, but I've gotten, I don't want to numb, but like I kind of gotten used to it. So it's just learning to have compassion and being able to deliver the feedback. And I think, though, I will say, Adam, is I genuinely like will try, like, when I deliver these, whether it's not necessarily negative, I try to deliver and communicate rejection in a very kind and loving way that leaves that person with hope.
I agree with you. I think it's a balancing act. And there was and I think a lot of recruiters could feel the pain here. There's a very interesting balance, and this is just real talk of, we get a lot of feedback. Sometimes we get no feedback from hiring managers on why they're passing on a candidate. And then we could just be very straightforward, be like, hey, I didn't hear anything. And like, I don't know the reason. Sometimes we get feedback that is very actionable, and we could give constructive feedback to a candidate to improve them. And then there's stuff that, like, you're like, shit, I don't know how to deliver this. And maybe we water it down, or maybe we find a way to like make it as actionable and positive as possible. But that's one of the hardest parts about our job, because as a candidate, you want that feedback, but not all candidates can handle feedback. And I had a couple of times this year when I packaged up some negative feedback in the most productive kind of way, and it didn't land. And that was a tough one for me, because I'm like, almost like, don't shoot the messenger. And in the same time, now I'm like, now I understand why companies don't want, like, you know what I mean? I was kind of feeling from both sides. Now I know why a company doesn't want to get feedback, because they don't want to deal, because it's hurtful. And people can't take it, and then they attack back, and like, you're kind of stuck in the middle. And this is real talk for anyone out there. I've dealt with this a couple of times this year, and it puts you in a tricky situation. Have you felt that? Have you experienced that?
Yes and no. I mean, it's interesting. Some will take it with like, okay, thank you so much, or like, I knew it wasn't a fit. I wouldn't say, like, you just have to, again, it's about like communication and the way you deliver it. As far as like companies not wanting to deliver feedback, I do have a client that's just like very generic in the way that they deliver. Hey, we moved on, and then that's okay. And then like, that's the way that they want to do it. Fine. But some companies are like, we want to service this candidate to do better. And so this is what they can improve. And this is what you can communicate to them. I think it's nuanced like everything else.
Agree.
But it's not your responsibility to take on the load of that like disappointment, because you're disappointed too, right? Like, let's call it spade for spade. Like, we're the job seekers essentially as well when we're dealing.
Right. If we're doing contingency search, it's our loss on that role, right? We're losing too.
Well, it's just like we work hard, right? Just like it goes to bat to interview, we're also preparing and working hard to land the role, work on the role.
We're losing too.
Fine. So we're in it with them. And so I do like to say like, hey, like, I feel this with you. Let's like work on getting you something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. What do you think is a big mistake or a big miss that you're seeing out there? A lot of job seekers, where, you know, in their job search, like maybe it's a mindset, maybe there's something tactical they're not doing. Like, what are you seeing in an area for improvement that people are just not thinking about?
It's a really good question. I mean, it's spread across the board, right? It could be mindset, it could be laziness, just applying to all the jobs and not like really getting clear on how to position myself and how to market myself for that job that I'm applying for. It could be ego. I mean, it could be a bunch of things, or not even thinking outside the box, you know?
And I think I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday who in 20 years has never been had to search for a job, because he's always landed a job somewhere through relationships. And he said to me, he's like, dude, the job search is one of the most humbling and at times humiliating processes you could ever go through. You think you're really good. You think you're the best candidate, but guess what? There's 7 of you out there. And it sucks. Millions of people, well, not millions, let's just say, you know, there's jobs out there where they're getting thousands of applications, but there's one role open. And I think candidates truly, and this is a tough pill to swallow, is managing your mindset and managing your mental expectations, right? And it's almost like you get your hopes up, you get excited because you want that job, but at the same breath, you also have to like be prepared for a letdown. I hate to say it, right? Like they can only choose one. They can only choose one. And it's just managing expectations. So that's what I try to do as a recruiter with my candidates. I guide them through the whole way, and I try to coach them, and I prepare them, and I set them up for success. But at the end of the day, It's up to them to deliver, and it's up for the team to make the decision to hire them. Those two things are out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I can only do what's in my power, and I try to pass it on to them, saying, do what's best in your power. Put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's frustrating, and I know it's tiring.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to get up there and take that at bat, you got to be best prepared. And I think sometimes candidates try to, I'm not saying all, but I think they could just do better managing their expectations.
Yeah, and I think also too, like you said, there's only so much we can control. There'll be instances where I'll see candidates get to the finish line and the client wants to give them the offer, but budget's pulled or they lose a deal. And so it's sometimes it's not just about them. And even for us, like you and I are both independent, or we're both doing different businesses, and we're kind of have our, it's about not getting attached. Like for me, I don't get excited about anything until it's okay. And I think this goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's real life, learning how to detach and let go of resistance and just let things fall into place,
And kind of believe in the power of the universe. And it's interesting. I remember when my first deal fell through. I've been recruiting for almost a decade. Coming up this July will be 10 years, which is crazy to think about, which is insane. My first boss said to me when I lost that first deal, he's like, be upset for today. Go home. Be mad. Be upset. But tomorrow morning when you wake up, it's over. There's nothing you could do about it. There's no coming back, and start the day fresh and not dwell on it. And it's obviously either easier said than done, because we hold on to it and we harbor things but the same thing with job search, right? It's a tough mindset to say, move on, pick it up. Right. And the one I don't like is rejection is redirection. I'm not a big fan of that one that people drop.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of a cop out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm weird and woo woo. And so I try to but that's just me and my experience. And I don't agree it's for everything. And the reality is we don't always need to be positive. Job searching is hard. Running a business is hard. Running a team is hard. Hiring is hard. We're all kind of just in it together, but I do believe if you take action and you have faith and you put yourself out there, something will land.
I completely agree. So let's talk about faith for a little bit here as we bring it home, and we talk about energy shift and everything. And you really went through it. You've really been through it the last couple of years, and watching on the sidelines here, and we're friendly, we chat, we connect, we ran into each other a couple of times this year, and I've seen you at various stages. But what I see looking from the outside in is you're growing and things are going in your favor, and you're putting good energy out to the universe, and you're being the best mom that you could be, and you're building this business and setting an example for your son. And he's going to look, when he's old enough to realize it, he's going to be proud of you. And I just want to say that you're doing things the right way, because this is hard. What you do, not many people could do it. So you should give yourself a pat on the back, because you're doing it. And there's going to be great years of business. It's going to be tough years. And, if you stay consistent and you do the right thing and, align yourself with the right people, things are going to work out. You put in the work and you make shit happen, right? That's my mantra last year. And it's this year, just make shit happen. Set an intention. Last year, I was at Transform. It was my first big event that I was doing a podcast from. And I saw this big stage, and I took a video and I sent it to my wife and our best friend. I said, next year, I'm going to be on that stage. I'm going to be doing that panel. And this year I am. So yay. I believe, and I'm not trying to humble brag here, but I truly believe in manifestation. I believe if you set your mind to something and you take every step you need to get there, it's going to happen. In the same breath, mind your expectations. So, Steph, as we close things out here on this show, and you're not the last guest because I'm going to bring my kids back in here in a second. What's that word or phrase of intention and power that you're setting for yourself for 2025?
Well, it's funny you said that. I'm going to say it's trust. Okay. Trust and faith. We could talk about it some other time. There's other initiatives that I'm going to initiate outside of the main recruiting line. And it all has to do with trust and faith. And I think that that's the one takeaway I'd give to anyone here listening, just trusting that it's all going unfolding the way as is, and letting go of control. And I think my intention for 2025 is to just trust that the right people, clients, friendships, whatever that looks like, are going to come into my life, and I'm going to be there for them in a trusting way. So that's my word.
Well, it's funny you say that. I keep this posted right here on my computer, and this posted right here, if anybody can read, it says wild, unmitigated trust.
Literally going to cry. That's my keynote. So we talked about speaking earlier. My keynote is on trust. Literally,
and it's crumpled up because I don't know why it's crumpled up, but I keep this one here because what I'm really trying to do is surround myself with people who we've all been burned before, but I'm really like, there's people now in my business, in my life, that I'm removing a lot of the negative forces like in that world, right? And I'm surrounding myself with those people and closing the circle. I have a very big circle, and we're blessed to have so many friends and everything, but like that inner circle of people that you trust, and focusing on that and letting go and having faith in the process here. So Steph, I want to wish you and your little man a very happy, healthy, and prosperous 2025. I hope it's filled with prosperity, love, hopefully find some love out there, joy, and success in business. And I appreciate you and our friendship. And when are we going to cross paths? What's on the plan?
Well, I come up to New York often, not sure yet on Transform. I don't know. When are you in Florida?
And I don't think I'm there till April. I'll let you know when we're down south, but we'll definitely be there for the April break. I might try to get out there in March at some point. Probably try and take January off from traveling. I think January is going to be a quiet month. So
I might be up there in the city end of January, early February. I'm aiming for, so we can get like a little get together of people from our community.
We could definitely do a New York City recruiter meetup up there. So Steph, I want to wish you a happy and a healthy New Year, and take care.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye. And for those of us that are still hanging around there, kids, come back in. Let's see how this works out. Let's end this one. Let's see how this one's going to come back on. Let's bring the kids out there and everyone out there. Thank you for hanging with us the last couple hours. It's a Friday. We're getting close to the end of the day. Let's bring the little ones back in here. All right, Ollie, get over here. All right. Let me get you on camera over here. Let's move the camera over. How you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah. You want to wish everyone a happy holidays?
Happy holidays, Mommy. Happy holidays, everybody.
And everybody out there, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Mommy? Is Mommy there?
Mommy's working. Oh, Mommy's around. I want to thank everyone out there. I wish you and your families a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. Peace around the world, and catch us in 2025 for much more fun stuff on the podcast. Remember, you can find out more at thepodcast.com. Follow us on all the social media channels. Check us out on YouTube at /thepodcast, Instagram at NHP Talent. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next year in 2025. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.